Give me a chance, let me take you right there.
All right, we're ready. I'd like to call in. I would like to call the City of Saugatuck Parks and Public Works Committee for January 24th, 2023. Deputy Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Sure. Sherrick, DeYoung,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Kimball,
Here.
Roach,
Here.
Baldwin.
Here. I would like to suggest to approve the agenda and entertain a motion to do so. Apply to approve. Clerk, would you please- Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes.
Well, would be fine.
Yeah, voice is fine.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? With that, I guess we will go through the minutes. Item number 4, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 22nd, 2022.
I will approve minutes.
Second.
Motion by Kimball, second by Terry.
Correction.
Any discussion or corrections on minutes? With that, voice vote,
All in favor?
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we are down to item number 5, public comment on agenda items only. If you could limit your comments to 3 minutes, that would be lovely. Anyone in the audience? Anyone online? Ron, oh, Mr. Vanderbeek.
I actually can't hear. Was that public comment period?
Yes.
Did I raise my hand? Okay, so you called on me. It's okay for me to talk. I'm John Vanderbeek, resident of Saugatuck Township. I have property in the city of Saugatuck too. I'm a founder of the Riverwood Council, which is a group of local concerned citizens that have pushed for trail connectivity and more conservation in our area. And I'm happy that you guys have talked about bringing me into this airport property study group. So I'm here to just say that I'm here for you. I know a lot of history about the airport property, as well as the terrain itself. I've worked with for a couple of years with the township and Kenneth Butler and some other commissioners over there in opening up the dog park, 5-acre park that's near the airport into a 40-acre park that they now approved last year. We worked with them to connect to the airport property and properties to the south, like the dump site. So I'm just here to kind of help connect the dots. So think of me as a resource. I've talked to people like Kenneth Butler who are happy to come in. Ruth Thornton of Land Conservancy of West Michigan, which you already have a good relationship with. And she's interested in coming in, looking at the conservation aspects of that property and other things. And also have a good relationship with David Nitre of ODC Network. And anyway, I'm here for you guys. Thank you. Thank you for forming this group. It's very exciting to see this happen.
Thank you. Thank you for your involvement. We will look forward to our airport tour, which we'll discuss later on in the agenda. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone, we can close the public comment section of our meeting. Onto meeting studies. If we have a comments from the Department of Public Works. Any update?
Everybody, it's been a couple months since we've met. Lots going on, lots happened since that time, but first I want to say welcome. When Baldwin to be the chair. Got to know you a little bit recently, and I think you're going to be a strong chair for the committee, so I'm excited to work with you. Mayor Dean did a great job too when you were the chair, so. So as you can tell, we haven't had a whole lot of snow, so what in the world is the public work crew been up to? They're not snowplowing, so I can give you kind of a brief overview of that since we last met. I think late November of 22nd. At the time we were still contending with heavy brush and leaf collection. We had a scheduled date, but because of the nice weather that we had, we felt any amount of material that was out, we were able to extend the brush and leaf collection program for this year. And so a lot of residents were able to take advantage of that service. And late November, first snowfall of the year. We got all the equipment nice and felt covered in salt, and then nothing happened again. So we spent a lot of time detailing out the equipment, washing, removing, that sort of thing. That's kind of the behind the scenes. But we did have a lot of strong winds this fall, and so there was quite a bit of maintenance done at Local Beach in terms of keeping the parking lot clean. And then we do have a few, I would say, fairly inexperienced maintenance workers in the garage. One of them was able to gain his CDL, commercial driver's license, Class B, with an air brake endorsement. That's what's required of us before they stop breaking down trucks. So he did successfully complete that class, and he now has that capability. So after that, we're eager to get him in the dump truck. Cody can help with that, and get him trained up on snow plow. So, and find all those little areas of town that, there's definitely a learning curve when it comes to that. Every town is unique, but as someone with training, there is a little more likelihood that we'll nick some solder here and there, or maybe a mailbox will get dented or maybe removed, and replaced. So, it'll be interesting to see how we trucks with that. We're excited. We also had Christmas, so that's already coming down. We've removed all the Christmas decorations in the parks. There's two components of Christmas decorations that you should be aware of. There's along Culver and Butler Street, you'll see the tree wrap lights. Those are contracted out from Chip Ground Cover. Those will remain until probably the end of March. When I say Christmas decorations, I mean Coffin Park, Palestine, Wicks Park, City Hall, Jones Park, those areas in town that are actually, garland and ribbon and whatnot. So all that's been removed. We had new council orientation at the Public Works Garage, so we were able to have Gregory Muncie, one of our new elected council members, and Helen at the Public Works Garage, along with Ryan Cummins and Mayor Dean. So they got a nice little tour of the facility, which we should do sometime soon. We'd like to have you all there too. So pretty proud of the operation up there, what the city has. And then that kind of tells the story of also what services that we provide as we go along. So we did a little update. We did have to decommission one of our dump trucks. We have a 2009 International Workstar. It had already been in the budget for replacements. And that's our primary workforce in the wintertime. So it's had a heavy salt exposure since 2000. So the truck, although it has fairly low miles, they're really used heavily. So that's getting replaced. We should take possession of the dump truck. We already have possession of the chassis, but it has to go out the truck and trailer specialties, and they outfit it with our customizations. So underbelly scraper, the front plow out, dump bed, lighting kit, et cetera, et cetera. The 2009 International started acting up, started bellowing out smoke like crazy. And so we got a repair estimate for a total piece just over $11,000 because it started to have a defective diesel particulate filter, which is very expensive. So it has to do with emissions, but long story short there. But it was recommended to us that we do not move forward with the repairs. We'd be much better off just getting the truck decommissioned and selling it at auction in the spring. And since we already have our new truck, I mean, that's what we plan to do. And besides that, as long as there's no snow, we are taking care of hot washing and degreasing all that equipment up there. I think our street sweeper has wax right now. First time ever I've seen that. So all that kind of lower priority stuff that we finally have a chance to do. That's what's kind of the next thing, an opportunity. If there's any questions, feel free to.
Can I just ask a question about street sweeping? How often do you do that? And the reason I'm asking is I happen to live on a street where there's some construction going on right now, so it's really mucky. I'm wondering if there's any way that that can be done more often if there's something going on.
Sure. Typically in the winter time, the temperatures are below freezing and all the little particles adhere to the road and it's and that's kind of like today it wouldn't work very well. But as long as we get a good thaw, and yeah, we actually have the street sweeping fairly regularly. Last time we did, I think we had a couple of guys go down Butler and Culver Street and all the main downtown district. I mean, we blew off all the sidewalks to get all that kind of winter grime off of it, and then haul it back through the street sweeper and collect the material. So But to answer your question, yes, we can work it, as long as the temperature is cooperative, we'll keep running the street sweeper at least once a week.
Oh, okay.
Steph, how many full-time employees do you have in
So we have myself, the assistant supervisor, Cody Hardy, so two, Alex, Chad, Adam, and like 6 total.
there? Six.
Anyone else? I do want to thank you, Mr. Herbert. The tour was really informative. If anyone hasn't been there, we should talk about it after. And set up an informal tour of DPW, everything that they do. I think it should be very impressive. And yeah, they do a whole lot with not very much, and it is impressive. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So moving on to study group updates. I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, there, can you, queue up the PowerPoint?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Let's look at okay, next slide, please. Thank you, Scott. Okay. Next slide. Madam Chair, if I may.
Please.
Okay, so the city council had their strategic planning session not too long ago. And these are some of the essential items as it relates to Parks and Public Works that came out of that meeting. Park Street came out on top. Also a 5-year work plan, parks plan, comprehensive parks plan. And then master plan for Oval Beach, so there's a lot of focus and a desire to create a plan for Oval Beach, including ideas such as local parks and public works, beach storage, also safety issues that are happening, discussions are ongoing for emergency services. And then also just discussion on like the commercial use of the beach. A lot of people ask about weddings. That's not allowed according to our current ordinances, but there's also things like little small scale picnics and yoga sessions out there. So eventually there's going to be a discussion with our city council about what we allow private enterprise out there and what we don't allow. I mean, for example, like the picnics are pretty low key. You know, there are not a lot of drink booths out there, so they're pretty discreet. Yoga, that kind of goes into, I don't know, health and wellness, and maybe that's something that the council would allow out there. So, I mean, there's going to be some discussion from that. Volleyball nets came up. So anyways, these are just some of the priorities that come up with strategic plan. Just so you know. So that can shift kind of with the focus of.
Was it just the council people or was it were you representing BW on that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the council and staff.
Yep, and open to the public, and,
So as far as the 5-year parks plan, is it something they're working on currently, or this is a document?
this is gonna come to you all. Yeah. It'll be a good one, it'll be fun. Okay, next slide, please.
Right.
Okay, study groups.
Study groups, why don't we go around and talk about, the different study groups and who's gonna lead them and the status. I think right now it's kind of in the collection stage and probably doing along pretty well. Nice to have playground. You might, but we can go around in the group of the start with you, since you have a lot of like already.
Next one is
Yeah.
Yeah, the street has always been contentious. Little street and people, and we've always talked about what is wrong with it, what is good with it. So it's nice to have a group now formed to help us. So I put out all these bulletins to everyone on Park Street so that everyone can be involved if they wanted to. There are a total of 8 that are now part of the committee, but I do still connect with all the parks people so that they will give me ideas that they feel are going to be talked about, areas of concerns, ideas and stuff. This group. So there's a group of 8 people there, some are on parks, some are off of the bigger streets that we were. So we had our first meeting on Friday. And it was more or less like an introduction brainstorming session, to see it happening and 3 things that immediately popped up. Yeah, the last slide was unbelievable. I had someone write up great notes while I was talking, taking charge of the meeting. So he wrote his notes. Remember the biggest main things that want to change on Park Street, possible the speed of it, because we're finding that it's very dangerous to walk it, to ride it, to run, to anything. So it's a dangerous street. Another issue that we have is walking paths. That comes with also, Park Street is also there. Has full character and history too, so we don't want to change it too much by making it residential street, by expanding it, making it 2 walkways, typical look. We want to work with the character of Park Street. And so that was another thing we want to do, have people walk safely on there as well as riding bikes on there too. So we talked about that and thing that was also, we would talk about signage, because we feel Park Street, that there's, it's kind of overlooked over there. It is a, it has the gem of tourism, which is beach. And we don't feel like it is represented well with signage with care or anything. So that's what we want to go back. And also the signage, we want to make the signage more pronounced there. We live in a beautiful arts community. We're maybe with someone that come up with some signage and created all Park Street. We did come out stating how much we appreciated Scott Herbert, in order to make some walkways on both sides of the streets. We need things cleared. And we connected with him and came immediately. He and his crew came to help clear out some paths. So I can start there. So that's our first meeting. We kind of addressed areas that we want to work on, possible his opinions. One more thing is the Jane Ferry. We kind of figured that that is a dangerous area. We want to slow the public down, and we also want to be safe for walkers there too. So, some kind of conceptual plan and council, so you can work on something like that. So, in a nutshell, it's little.
Wonderful job of facilitating it and for me, you really kept everybody on track. And meetings like this can sometimes evolve into planning and that everyone involved did an excellent job of focusing on things that we can work on and what's working. And certainly what wasn't working, but in this positive way, and I think that it was beneficial. I'm very happy.
Yeah, and I helped out, and we'll continue on having so next meeting, but after we got to work on that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that, you know, out there surrounding consensus, just kind of in a nutshell, something else.
So I maintained a list of the. I like this one here. Just, I don't know, Kelly, did you want to discuss the setup of the meeting that we had with Walkabout with Mr. Vanderbeek?
What we had talked about for next week, I don't know.
Meeting here, I'm sorry, no, we discussed meeting here 11:45. The time can come here 11:45.
Yeah, so John has knows the company very well, being with the Rotary Council, so he's kindly offered his time, being part of the study group now, to take us for an initial walk through the property. So anybody, this is next Tuesday, the 31st, correct? And
And Mr. Manager is going to propose, an open meetings. I believe we're gonna have a forum. There's no way that not four of us want to be there, right? So.
So the way it would work, or what I recommend is anyone who wants to attend will publicly advertise the meeting to do with you as well. Maybe that's actually a recommendation to council. We'll publicly advertise it. Everyone meet here at City Hall, and then caravan, and then maybe just do like a presentation here on the big screens, and then caravan. Airport property. We'll also have to advertise that location just in case anyone just wants to go directly to the airport property, so it'll be like a time specific. That's 30.
Yeah. We can say, yep, and it will say where your dirty money is. And back for the weather, because there's some parts that are actual trails, but a lot of it is just statements in the woods. So just be prepared for those conditions.
So while we have you, Kelly, can we, you update us on the playground?
So playground, Glenn and I have been in competition with fun and with this as well, so. We are happy to take the lead on this. Yeah. So that would be. So we have reached out to the others that were mentioned when we met around that. Mainly being Bertie Howard, she's happy to sort of represent the, school group, school community with this. And then also Anna Gray, that used to be a part of that from kind of a consulting standpoint. She is the one that has, done the scout projects and has put in the playground at Fury Field and Schultz Park, all through public funding and endowments. So she's already gone through this with the community and she's got a lot of really good feedback. She vetted, I think, 3 or 4 different, playground groups, you know, as far as the builders, and then obviously it's gotta be a big part of this, I hope, in terms of what's allowable there. But I thought that would be kind of a great way to start with Anna and Scott to begin with, and then kind of kick our group off from there. So I don't know if Scott wants to give any time.
Well, I'd be excited to help with that process.
I have some comments on that. I have also consulted with Michigan Recreation Park Association, so I know them pretty well, and they have a vendors list that they work with when they do their conferences and people come in. And it's listed on their website. So I have shared that with all the vendors. There's a lot of them in Michigan that do playgrounds and design and implementation. So we have that list also that we can look at. In terms of a budget, it's good to know what we might have that we can work with and or what we are expected to raise. So do we have any?
So, Mr. Mayor, did you and I discuss this briefly about, I think that the plan is come up with a plan and present it, and we'll find it with the funding.
Correct.
That would, yeah, we talked about this last week, where I was just like, how do we approach it, and so we can come up with something that we think would make sense, and then present it for a bunch of.
Yeah, because they'll have a wide range of prices and we'll
Yeah.
show what we think we need and then we can fill in the gaps. Okay. And back to the airport property, maybe we should talk about the people that we have asked to be on that. Of course, John Vanderbeek, who was happy to join him. Can we contact with the others?
So I talked to Rick Fowler, who is the lead cross-country coach at high school. He's thrilled to be part of it and continue the conversation. And he has done a ton of research of other communities that have these types of courses. And he's got a lot of numbers in terms of the finances behind it, what it costs to do, and then also the amount of revenue that can actually bring in and kind of drive the economy into some shoulder season areas. So he's really excited too that this and to be a part of that going forward. And then David DeFranco, who's the township manager, I spoke with him. He is happy to be part of the committee as well. He's obviously here to stretch them with all the projects that we have going on in the township. And so what he felt was that he would start initially, and because they have the township, to cover the township parks and trails, where they have their version of this in the township, then there might be someone from that committee. Well, so that's a discussion that I'd like to have once we get started with our study group. But we might go that position as well.
And we were thinking of Ken Butler possibly. He came and spoke at our last meeting, was on that committee and talked about the old land.
Yeah, so he is the treasurer of that, the township parks committee currently, and has some interest in that, so I want to talk further on that. And then finally, Scott Pajic, who is the director of Saugatuck Recreation. So he is happy to be a part of it as well. And he would sort of represent what we need with, looking out and baseball soccer fields, things like that, with the work program. So that's where we are with that, done.
Going back to the our committee. Are we gonna also address that one gentleman that he wants pickleball courts?
Mhm.
Yeah, and will that be part of this thing too, or is it just the playroom?
I think we should include it all and then, but with a focus on moving quickly on the playground part of it, if we want to replace that.
Yeah, I think that's important too. I think we can test. Sit down, so.
Yeah.
Airport fabrics.
I actually have a question, you know, just going back to the natural aspect of that property, do we kind of an inventory, you know, of what is there, you know, before we start, we'll just building stuff, I'm curious, you know, like, are there any particular, I don't know if we could have somebody from ODC come in or something like that, you know, just to kind of help us know what's there before we start, you know. maybe
John
things-
said that he is national building student. I think he's, well,
This is for the
Because I
airport
think it's
property.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's important too.
mhm. The outdoor discovery center and the land conservancy.
Right, that would be
Interested in it. So, yeah, I think that what we'll be bringing them into those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the answer is no, we don't have an inventory of. But we do have a proposal from ODC, I think we have one already, to do a site inventory, which is really just kind of the topography and the landscape, and it's not really in depth. They're not gonna do any conceptual plans of like what's gonna work best where, but they can just go through and do the. And that makes sense because I think the other travel, the parks group with the township is using ODC as well. So there would be some continuity.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know
Perfect.
Joe Stickman has been my consultant.
Okay.
From OEC.
Yeah.
Anything else on airport property? What's their, suggestion I had is kind of along the lines of if we're involving OPC. I also would love to have someone who has some sustainability expertise background on that as well. And so, Dan Boersma he's someone that has helped us with the tri-community recycling and composting committee. And he's happy to just sort of like bounce in and act as a consultant. We can bounce ideas off of him. He's fantastic. He's sustainability for Holland. So I would love to include the study group as well. And reach out to him.
Okay, thank you.
Move on to Blue Star Trail. Any updates from Ms. Kimball?
Well, I would say we have little progress to report, other than, you know, we have, you know, I can't remember, we talked last time, have we got the grants for sure?
So
Okay, so I guess we did some progress, yeah, and then, you know, MDOT did give us their big grant, 1.3 million for the TAP grant. Right, and then there's the DNR trust fund grants that the Saugatuck City applied for, 300,000, which was also granted. But then the unfortunate thing is that the township $300,000 request was denied. So I think as far as funding, what we had initially thought we needed, we're 300,000 short. And so my understanding is there's a meeting tomorrow to talk about, you know, just with basically with Damon DeFranco from the township. And Holly will be there, you'll be there, Richard from the Friends of Blue Star Trail will be there, and I'll be attending as well. And so you know, we're a little bit stymied, I think, just of do we start, even though we're a little $300,000 short? The Saugatuck, I'm really at a loss to understand why the township's request was denied by the DNR when it's the same project. Other than the way they filled out the application was such that it just didn't pass, you know, the requirements. So I think once we can sort that out, we can get things rolling. And hopefully we'll.
And
get
another
progress
meeting
tomorrow.
last night also at the council meeting that we started. But what we will facilitate that.
Okay, invasive species. Garrett?
I was out of town for 2 weeks, so, there's some of this.
Okay. Part of the next step is just gonna be getting us to convene the study groups and fully identify who's gonna lead and who's gonna be the members, and that's kind of where we're at with that right now. So, we can put you in on that,
I
to
will-
be
I will
behind
work on
place. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, I have a few updates. Allegheny County Conservation. They go out and do their survey for the HWA, hemlock, woolly, a Belgian bug, and they did their survey. So if you hike around Crow's Nest, you'll see a lot of hemlock trees that are tagged, and we've been working with them to allow private property owners to use their services as well. So we've got a notice in that area for anyone that's interested. And then Mr. Herbert and I will be working on treating knotweed. We made a map last year. So we'll tackle treating some knotweed just through our general operations through the Department of Public Works. So
Okay.
that's some updates on invasives for you.
Appreciate it. Be my report.
Couple concerns, Park Street, will be some green stuff in the water. Where we have to along Park Street, we pay for that, and some people think it's to the city. Is there any work on doing?
Great question. So that came up as a top priority for the city council, and you're referring to Milfoil. Yep. So the city's been addressing this for the last 2 years. And what I'm recommending to city council, and they agree, is to set up a special assessment, which will involve not assessing, let's see, it's going to be a share and assessment between the. My hope is that the city is going to take this on their own without assessing the tax dollars and the shoreline property owners.
Yeah.
And so we're working on methodology.
Thank you.
Anything else for invasive species? Okay, and then our last study group, head.
So I got a big, it's a big one, and I know this kind of is an extremely important one because the time frame too. So I guess I need people who I think, I don't know the people that. So I guess we just need to talk about this, you know. And there are.
It's our next step. Okay, identify.
Yeah.
Let them know to be included.
Right, yes. Keep it on together. We have to figure out who's gonna be out. That. More control.
I think it's for just people that want to be involved.
Yeah, and you can look at part of the street when we get it to the. And then have input, of course, from other people, then just keep it kind of smaller, because it's easier to contain.
And there's also the possible opportunity with the public-private partnership with AT&T and.
That's exactly, that's so I think. That's
Wonderful. Okay, thanks. Like I said, I think we've been over the next step, which I think is just to basically kind of really get a cohesive plan of the study groups, who's going to lead, who's going to be included. We should have some updates the next time we meet as far as who's fully in on these and then what where they're at and their planning. With that, I will move on to public comment on any item, not even on the agenda. And with that, I would ask to limit your time to 3 minutes, please, and invite everyone in the audience. Seeing no one in the audience, do I have anyone online?
I think John's hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody.
The 9-member closing. Go around, go the applicant. Ms. Campbell, would you like any closing comments today?
Just that I guess I was a little bit unclear on the study groups as far as were we off and running and who was in charge and should we be getting things done. So I felt like I was not really doing maybe what I should have been doing for the last, since we last met. But I wasn't really clear that, we were ready to go. So we are ready to go.
I think we're ready to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome, Helen. Thank you for stepping up and leading this group, and I'm excited to get going.
And I welcome you as well. I just work with you. I kind of 2 comments is one is kind of based off of what we were saying about signage. and Glenn and I talked about this a little bit, that there's some really interesting and even beautiful signs that are out of all of our different parks across, Saugatuck, but they don't necessarily all connect and speak to one another. And so one of the things that I'd like to put out to this group is that as we're continuing to have opportunities to have some signage added, I'd love to sort of have collective nature and create a narrative around it, so that people that, not just locals, but also that, you know, when tourists are visiting, they understand that where all these parts are connected and are part of, you know, sort of a bigger picture of what our town has to offer.
I agree, and also there's like in Michigan, like the certain types that they use for trail, and we should even connect with that. We should, there should be a sense of consequence. And that's almost proven itself.
Some are gonna be there forever, you know, there and sort of landmarks here. And they how do we do that? Bring them all together.
Exactly. How do we involve them, our community with it? And it could be really special here too, as well as informative, so, yeah.
And then along that line too, is I would love to look at this from a sustainable aspect. So like you go to ODC and all of their signage is made of sustainable materials, which also gives off a values perspective of, hey, this is what we value as a community. And so I love for anything that we're doing in terms of our projects is to look at it from that aspect as well, because you want people to come here and be conscious of that. They come here for the natural beauty, but to also be kind to the environment and do the right things while they're here. Because sometimes people come on vacation and they just go, whatever, kind of throw that in the wind, and you want them to obviously value the things, same things.
To follow up with that is, the thing is the recycling here. We have absolutely no recyclable containers over on our side with us or in town. Wow.
We should talk, again, organization that grants here, and we talk about that and try to make it.
Need that throughout the town on the other side at the beach.
And that's something you work with Department of Public Works on, right?
Sure.
We'll talk.
Thank you.
Completely agree with what I call wayfinding signage. I think the step further and see if we can partner regionally with Douglas and Township, not just Saugatuck. In fact, one of the trail coordinators in the state of Michigan, they did a survey of the type of signage that people are most responsive to. So they actually got a QR code and people were giving input on signage that was a little bit north of us. So actually having a connection with them and Blue Star Trail, talking about wayfinding. Also talked to the CBB, the Visitors Bureau, about assisting with this. So again, it's more of a regional approach from people pull into our area. There's, they can recognize the signage, there's patterns that they create in their brains. And it's not different in each of our little enclaves because people don't really know when they go over the bridge that they're in the new area. About town. So, and then also, there was a program that I was working in Wisconsin, County called Leave No Trace. So, I mean, that was a big part of our kind of sustainable tourism, ecotourism effort in our county. Like, yeah, we welcome everyone, but don't leave your trash and be respectful of our trails. So there's a program, Leave No Trace, which is a nationwide program, definitely dialed into recycling. So that was also on the strategic planning list for the city council, did not fall out as a top priority. Scott and I have talked about this in the past, so not our focus at the moment, but we will get there when we can. But it's on the radar, for sure.
I want to like thank you for I really don't much to add. I'm looking forward to the invasive species project and the airport. It's gonna cover that.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome and thank you. I agree with Nancy. Because we missed the month of December, we'll step back from Park Street is always on the road, so that was, real feel uncomfortable, I was just sitting from all of them. Oh, better for next, week, so.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to first thank everybody for coming. And I mostly excited, more excited than anything else I've got going on is to be a part of this committee. The Parks and Public Health is definitely where my heart is. And it's what I've done most about the August, so I'm excited for that. We did have a lot of conversation about signage and I think it's perfect. Like, if only just some artists and just sometimes, right, or well, for a reason we should get it together. I do want to let this meeting slip by without mentioning that Venetian, the fundraising that we are going to do with Rotary with Venetian is going to go to an environmental. It's not yet been identified, but it's something to focus on the river and all the things that are close to us. And so that's really exciting.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that we're going to do some good work with that. So that is, yeah, and I'm sorry, please.
And you mentioned the 5-year plan, and I thought you said we might hear more about that later. Was that not this meeting?
No, not this week.
Okay.
With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Now that motion from.
Yeah.
Yeah, second. Roach. Okay. Yeah, all in favor? Opposed?
If I-